Today on True Patriot Love, Under the Pillar of Real Estate, we're lucky to have author Chris Chopite. Chris, welcome. And your book, Real Top Producer, Become a Top 1% Earner in Any Real Estate Market. So, it's a good book. I read it and I really enjoyed it. But, the thing that got me, because I've recently been going through some real estate sales issues. Mm-hmm. Finally, thank goodness, got my 2 properties sold.
Amazing.
We did. And also today, I'd like to, Shara, Micucci, my wife, is joining us because she is a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. So, it was good. And we went through this challenge for a few months. Yep. It seemed like an eternity. In the market where, home sales in Canada are declining by 3.5%, right? Mm-hmm. Month over month. 9.5% in the GTA where we were trying to sell. So a big decrease in home sales. Mm-hmm. The economy, quite frankly, is sharing. It's shaking. The economy is shaking real estate right now because no one has stability given tariffs and everything going on. The prime minister is announcing these big major projects. The budget is trying to capital invest in the country to kickstart it. Productivity is a challenge in Canada big time, which I talk about on a number of shows. Affordability, right? So affordability is kind of one of those double-edged swords that I think we're all listening about, but people want affordable homes, but now the government's created agencies that are building homes, basically challenging local developers. So they've gotten into the build market alongside developers, which that has pros and cons, right? So, and then regional trends, of course, Calgary, we just came from Calgary. Calgary's up, but, and other markets are down. Mm-hmm. So before we get into this, I just wanted to chat with you about your background and why real estate.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I remember driving with my mom, and I looked up and I saw a bridge, and then I said, I need to know how is that suspended? Like why is that working? So I decided to study architecture. That's kind of like how it all started for me. And I went to school for architecture, graduated, went and worked in the field as an architectural junior architect in a firm called URS Canada. Okay. Did that for 2.5 years, and then I was falling asleep on the computer. Okay. So I was designing and doing one of these and catching myself kind of falling asleep, and I said, man, although I know how this stuff works, how it comes together and all that stuff, being on a computer designing is not my gig. So I said, okay, I'm going to try building inspections. I need to be in the field. That's what I need to do. I need to be in the field. So I went for 2.5 years and worked in the building inspections department of a company, and building science department, where I basically inspected the outskirts of the building, so all the seals and everything. Anyway, I did that for 2.5 years, and I decided there's way too much dust, and this is dealing with way too much contractors. This is not for me. And I mean, I know it's funny, but this is what's happening. I'm trying to figure out where do I belong. And on a drive to Myrtle Beach with my family, I listened to a book called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. Yeah, read it. And I was listening to it on the drive, right? So my kids are sleeping, and I'm driving along, and he talked about the hedgehog concept, which is it's a Venn diagram, and when 3 certain pieces come together, it's kind of like what your calling is and what you should go out and do. So my hedgehog concept, when I looked at it all, I said, you know what? Real estate can drive my economic engine, meaning there's no ceiling. I can make as much money as I want. I'm passionate about people, and I have the technical skills to speak house. That's how it all started. I was like, well, I have technical skills to speak house, right? Yeah. I can speak house better than anybody else. So I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do this thing. And then I went into it, and I made $28,000, and I had to go get a job and do real estate. Then slowly but surely, I went up. Then 58, then just under 100, and then after that, I had better years. And that's why real estate. That's kind of how I got into it and why I got into it.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask about the title, but I'm gonna let Shara ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I read your book. It's like Paul said, this is a very good book, and it's touched my heart personally.
Thank you.
And tell me about what is a real top producer.
Yeah, so what I know is that a real top producer has mastered their BPM. Okay. And BPM in music for the musicians, what's BPM?
Beats per minute.
Exactly. Well, not in this case.
Yeah.
In this case, we're talking about brand, presence, and marketing. Yeah. Okay. So you can get really lucky in real estate and have a good few years and things like that, make a ton of money and then talk about it and all that stuff. Or you can build your brand, establish a fantastic presence in the way that you show up, in the way that you contribute to the community, to your family, how you show up as a mother, as a father, all that stuff. That has all. And then your marketing, how do you market yourself? How do you get yourself out there? Because I can have the best pen, but if no one knows about the best pen, then good luck selling it, right? Yeah. So I've established that in order to become a real top producer, you need to be at the highest level of BPM. Sure, if we're talking about numbers, you still need to be in the top 1% of your region. You still need to be in the top 1%, whatever that 1% is. Regions change. I mean, price points change, right? So you still need to be from a numbers perspective, top 1%, but you also need to have a BPM that stirs up business for you in a way that you are in the real estate industry and you're living an inspirational life and inspiring others to want to live like you. So my values as a business person is be courageous, create quality, and live inspired. So, I mean, I have that written on the back. It's how I sign off on my emails. It's very important to me. And that's another story of how I came up with that. But in short, if I had 30 seconds to tell my son, what are 3 things that you need to tell me? You're about to die. You have 30 seconds. What are the 3 things you have to tell me so I live a better life? And I would say, son, be courageous in anything that you do. Okay. Create quality, meaning anything that you do it to the best of your ability, and live inspired. So you inspire everybody. You walk into a room, breathe energy into that room so that everybody can live a better life. And then I'm dead. Okay. Like if I had 30 seconds, I would say that. Right? Yeah. So that's what I try to live by. That's how I challenge myself. If I'm going through a difficult time, I say, would a courageous person show up like this? No, then I'm not living to my values. Am I doing the best that I can right now? No, then I'm not living to my values. And so I check myself with those values. That's what a real top producer is.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know, I really liked about the book, or one of the things I really liked about the book was how your stories are real.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's funny because when you walked in today to our office, the first thing you probably saw was a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And so when I'm reading your book, I'm thinking, you know, you're saying on Sunday I get up and in my living room is a whiteboard, right?
Big whiteboard.
Is there still a whiteboard?
Legit.
Really?
A big whiteboard. It's the size of this backdrop.
Oh, wow.
I got it from Bell Canada headquarters.
Oh, okay.
Like it's bigger than anything in the house.
Oh, yeah. And you sit and plan your week and come up with creative ideas.
And the kids do work behind me, and I have the 2 leaves that open up, and it's like it's like the Iron Man house, except on a whiteboard. Like I have all types of arrows and stuff, and my mind is like on it. Yeah. I wake up at 4:45. And I am on some sort of thing that happens at that time, or my brain is going nonstop. So yeah, I do have a whiteboard. It's true.
Wow.
I like that because all of our businesses, we have whiteboards. We don't just sit there and go through computer.
Yeah. I don't like computers. To think, I can't think on a computer. I can, in fact, I say this often, even when I'm working with my executive assistant, I say, I'm gonna put it on paper, which is the whiteboard, and then I need you to help me digitize it. So I do it, but you know, my eyes roll behind my head. I start doing this crazy thing, and then I take a picture, I send it to her, and then she starts to put it together, and she sends me back it digitized, and then I share it with my team.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's how I think. I don't know. I'm weird that way.
No, it is great because it does, you know, and a lot of this book. So, you know, before I get into the kind of the educational elements of the book, I want to really talk about sort of, you know, you spend time, which I loved about the book, is you spend time at the beginning talking about sacrifice, courage, some of the key elements that in order to be successful as a top agent, you really have to be, you know, prepared to do. And, you know, it's interesting because sacrifice, which in, you know, being an entrepreneur, sacrifice is key because you have to sacrifice a lot of things. So, you know, your sacrifice list, right? I will offer up all my TV shows. I will only watch sports, but no full games. 10-minute highlights. I will offer up Saturday night with the boys, or only attend events with my wife and kids that when they can be with me. I will not clean my car anymore. I will teach my son how to clean my car and show him how to do a great job.
I
then
failed there. By
pay him. I will sacrifice late nights and sleep in. And this is where I will wake up at 4:45 and go to bed at 9 o'clock. a strict regime that allows me to stay at my highest level of energy and productivity. Which is true, right? As an entrepreneur, you have to forego so many things to be successful. And I don't think people, Shara and I, when we met, we were both entrepreneurs. Yeah. So the good thing was we were coming from backgrounds where we both ran our own businesses. So it was easy for us to kind of understand each other. Mm-hmm. But then, with a son, you have to figure out how to balance that, because you have two entrepreneurs that are going full steam, and you also have this little
family
kid.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to balance. So, and I think in real estate, and I notice it more and more with new real estate agents coming into the market. And I think, for those of you, you hear lots of numbers, but before I came into the show, there's 34,000 real estate agents in Canada right now, as of like October 2025. Mm-hmm. That was my AI search, right? So that's what it gives.
There's more.
Is there more than that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So AI is wrong, but yeah. So
a lot is what you're trying to say. There's a lot.
There's a lot of real estate. So you're competitive.
1.5 million in the U.S.
Wow.
Just to say,
that's crazy.
Just to throw that out
there. There you go. So your competitive landscape is pretty aggressive. So you have to be good to survive, right? Mm-hmm. You have to really be aggressive. So and part of that is you have to make those sacrifices to get the rewards. Yeah. So I like that. And then courage, of course, right? Because courage in business, you're not always going to be successful. So, and I'm sure you went through more examples of courage than you can imagine, but you talk about in it here about the fact that when you were starting out, you had 3 jobs.
I did. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And did that help you be more courageous when you got into real estate?
You know what? I'll tell you about the jobs, right? You get jobs to keep the lights on.
Right.
And one of the jobs was valet parking. Okay. One of the jobs was valet parking.
I did that.
And and I would be freezing my face off, okay, as I'm waiting upstairs for those cars to come and whatever. And in my hand, I had pieces of paper where I will write down my goals. And then, it was a piece of paper that I would fold, and I had my goals, and inside I would have my budget for the month, and I would just kind of, open it. So as I'm waiting for the cars to come up, I'm looking at it and stuff, and I'm just waiting for the cars, and I'm just reviewing my goals. Okay, what I want. And sometimes, the budgets would change. So I would be working on my budget as I'm waiting to get a $2 tip to drive someone's car down. So, I'm telling that story to tell you I wasn't doing it because I want more money. I was just doing it to keep the lights on. But that was just a means to I just need something to bridge me over.
Yeah.
But I knew I wouldn't be doing that for long. And I would do it, and I would freeze, and I would say, enjoy it because it's not gonna last. Enjoy it because it's not gonna last. And I would just keep telling myself that. And I tell agents that I coach right now, I'm going through a hard time. I'm like, enjoy this. It's not going to last. Enjoy this moment. You're going to wish that you were this calm because what's coming is going to be great for you. And, just to inspire and motivate them. Right. So, that I had to have that courage to get up. I had 2 kids at the time. Yeah. So I had to, babies. I had babies. I'd be working overnight, coming home at 4:00 in the morning, and then back to researching properties, sending stuff, and just knowing that I had what it took to get there. But yeah, it was 3 jobs. That's true.
Yeah. And I think that, the courage part, and I tell people all the time, very similar background, worked multiple jobs before I started becoming an accountant, and then left that kind of on a whim to start my own stuff. You have to have the courage, but those experiences that you go get before you actually get to where you're going are the most important ones, because they're the building blocks that create the courage and it's having that crappy job. I think I've told you before, I worked at a meat packing plant to get myself through university. And that was probably one of the crappiest jobs, right? But it paid well, quite frankly. So it paid the bills, and it was a good experience for me in the end, because the building blocks and the people I met along the way and how I managed them and got to learn about them gave me the building blocks to do what I do now. So
if I can add, I think a lot of times as we're getting to where we want to get to, I think we have to realize that at times you have to go through the motions, but in the back of your mind, your brain needs to be crafting the real life that you want.
Yep.
So you have to go through the motions, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, I know what I'm building, but you're going to go through the motions. You're going to see the money coming to the account. Okay, good. That's it. So you go through the motions. It happens sometimes even raising a family, right? You go through the motions of fatherhood, motherhood, fatherhood, and you're like, okay, I have to get through this. But in the back of your mind, you're crafting other things. And some people say you're not living in the moment. And that may be true. But I think you should live in the moments that you want to live in. Some moments, the reality behind life is that some moments you don't want to live in the moment. You just have to get through that moment so that you can get to the moment that you want to live in the moment for, right? So you have to realize, okay, this is not a moment I want to live in. I need to live in the moment back here, but I need to go through the motions of the courage and the sacrifice, right? If I can kind of piece it all together.
Well, that's real estate. Quite frankly, a lot of real estate is kind of trudging through, finding those leads, finding those, making those sales,
absolutely,
getting the right people connected together, because you're dealing with human dynamics all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, the guy building the house, I'm not saying he has it easy because I do both, right? And it's difficult, but I know where I have to be at the end of the day, and it's up to me to get there. And I can push as fast as I can or go as slow as I want. That's up to me, but I know the outcome is how I'm doing. But with human dynamics, you're dealing with people and trying to get them to make decisions and move in a direction way harder. And we've been through that, right? Yeah. We know how hard people can be when you got to move them along. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Planning. So chapter 2, and I love the basic. You start every chapter with a saying. So 1 hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. That's Dale Carnegie, right? And you have a bunch of these sayings in the book, and I like them. And then you tie them in, and the building your plan in 5, 3, and 1 year increments. So the 5-3-1 framework, and why that's important. So, and I do believe in this, when I use a program called Live Plan when I start a new business, and it's basically it's a business plan building program, and it asks you a bunch of questions, and it starts prompting you, and you start writing. And then it's a little bit painful because it's question after question after question. And they're a little bit the same. So you have to really spend a lot of time and figure them out. Yeah. My friend Blair from St. John's gave it to me. And Blair's like this 40-year-old super planner. And he said, you got to start using this. So I started using it. It's great. And at the end of it, I get a 5-year plan. And it tells me where I need to be. So it gives me like a 40-page document. And I print it out, and then I put it in a binder, and I put it on my desk when the business starts. And that's kind of how we move along. And, I try to map against it. But so, you talk about that in real estate, figuring that out. So what components in real estate go into that plan? So if you're a top producer, what are you putting in that 5, 3, and 1 year plan?
Yeah. Okay. In the 5-3-1, there's all the components. I think in this moment, what we really focus on in the 5-3-1 is from business to spiritual to health to family. It's more of a statement of what you want your life to be in 5 years, and then you work your way down to 3, which is a statement of what you need to do in order for you to be on track to accomplish your 5-year vision. And then the 1 year plan, now we're getting into the nitty gritty, where it's like, here's all the things that need to happen this year in order for me to be on track for the 3-year plan, and in order for me to accomplish the 5-year vision. And it has a lot to do with everything. It's all tied in. If I don't take into consideration my personal health as I'm planning for my business, then we're gonna have a problem here. Because if all I'm eating is cold cuts and Coke, and Coca-Cola and cold cuts and bread, and that's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're not gonna make it to your 5-year plan. We're gonna have a problem here, right? So there's a lot of things that when we're looking at the 5-year plan, we're looking at various different components of someone's life, including the business. To the point of, what are you driving? Like, what do you, are you coming home to a 2-car garage? How many children do you have? We have to take that into consideration, because if we don't consider that in the 5-year plan, how do you work backwards, right? I'm a big fan of start with the end in mind, and that's where that came from. It's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Start with the end in mind. So we start with the end in mind, and then we plan backwards, and then once we have that 1-year plan, we build that out into a GPS: goals, priorities, and strategies, and then we execute.
Yeah. And it's interesting if you don't do it. So this is, that's what I like when you wrote down. You have no direction, no inspiration, and no reason.
Yeah.
Right. And the good things is if you do it, you have clarity, connection, direction, and inspiration. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really is. It does make sense, right? And I've lived it. I've been in both cases. When I got starting my own companies, and I grew up with a serial entrepreneur. So I was lucky enough to new immigrant to Canada, who really wanted to have his own businesses. And so quite frankly, along the way, he would start different businesses, and I'd see the good, the bad, and the ugly of kind of his planning. And the more he knew about the businesses he started, the better he did. The more he didn't, the worse he did, because he didn't have those planning steps, right? So I did see someone go through it. Master your time. So things rarely get stuck because of lack of time. They get stuck because the doing of them has not been defined. David Allen, right? Yeah. So really good quote. And you talk about in this chapter time blocking, which you're, I met you a few years ago. And the one thing's my observation right away was you're a really good time blocker.
I am.
Yeah, you're really good. Like you really figure it out. You think about it and you allocate times. Like when I talk to you, I can see it because you talk to me sometimes about time, which very few people do. Like you'll say to me, my time is I'm going away with my family. I'm here for this time. Like you're very focused on.
I'm a planner.
Yeah. If you take a year, you've tried to figure out that year, that month where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get I know you're saying the way you built it, but when did you come? I guess let's talk about this, man. In your life, when did you come to the realization that time and time blocking, time management was so important? Like how? Because not many people do, right? Most people get up every morning, they put their clothes on, they get out of bed, they hustle to work, they go day after day. Every once in a while, their wife says, "We got to go on vacation." And right away they get on and they try to find the cheapest trip they can get. They, book it. They go to that island. They sit in by that hotel pool, and that's kind of an average guy's life, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's an average person's life. To be honest with you, it is. I would not be able to live like that. I'd go crazy. So, planning. Look, I'm a creative person. Okay. And, start with the end in mind. I do plan my whole year out. And I believe that plans can change. But I do believe that you need to have something on the canvas. You can't wake up every morning and just stare at a blank canvas, because creative minds on a blank canvas, our minds can go everywhere. Like we just boom all over the place. So I need a path. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to do. My calendar, I am planned from 4:45 in the morning, even my travel time. I gave myself an hour of travel time to get here. Yeah, although it took me 28 minutes, I had that gave me time to go, take my hat off, do my hair, all the stuff that, so I am a big time planner, and I just think it's more efficient. I honestly think that we do more by being in control of our time. If you look at my calendar, it's like color coordinated, and I was raised by women, so I write neatly and I'm super organized. That's why. And I know how to clean toilets well because I iron. I did it all. So I'm a planner, and it just feels better to know where my day is going. Even right now, there's a certain circumstance right now. We started it. We don't need to get into it, but my life right now is a little bit of a volcanic eruption of people calling me and things like that. And all I did when I was driving here is I pulled up my phone and I'm like, yep, good. That's the focus. Everybody else can talk to me when I have time, and that gives me peace and that gives me focus. And I asked you before the show, how do you handle HR volcanic eruptions, human resources volcanic eruptions? And you're like, well, you got to go back to just, getting organized and casting the vision and helping people navigate through it. And I think you have to have the right the right mission and the right reason for what you're doing, and then people will see that in you, and then things will settle. You know, things will settle.
I wasn't a good planner until I met Paul.
You weren't, or you were?
I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would have thought that you were like the order person.
Shara's an artist by trade. So
business-wise, and then now, like you, I have everything on my calendar.
Absolutely.
It has to be there.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Way to go, Shara.
Well, I can see also in real estate, you know, the younger real estate agents that we came across in the last year or two, a lot of them, quite frankly, struggle with time management. You could see it.
Interesting.
To the point where, you know, at some points in time, we were actually, because we were busy in our own business, we were having them help us with some of the sales of the house. And we were actually taking all the showings.
We were helping them at the end. So
we were doing most of the showings because, quite frankly, they couldn't even time allocate the showings. And so we'd be like, "Are we doing a showing this weekend?" They'd be like, "Yeah." And then we get this email like, "Can you do the showing today?" Or "Can you show up?" Or "Can you be involved?" And we're like, you know, okay, that's kind of weird. You know, I'm double booked, or I don't have enough staff, and I'm like, okay, well then maybe your time management skills weren't great because you didn't figure all that out. And you're the one who has to be there to follow up the leads because, you know, in real estate, I can be there, and as the owner, I can teach someone about a house. Like I can go through the house because I built it, right? I can say this is this, that's that. But when they leave, it's the most important part is, sure, they got a good seminar from me about what the house was and how it was built. But I'm not the one who follows up with them. I'm not the one who deals with the trauma of finding financing and figuring out, you know, all the family issues and whether or not they have a cat, a dog, where they go to the bathroom. That's the real estate agent, right? That's the human dynamic that a real estate agent has. So time management, you know, really key. And I can see why you're saying it is. Branding. So this is an interesting part. Start your own business, right? And the best companies in the world don't sell. They brand. For example, Apple never tried to convert you into buying an iPhone. Instead, they painted a picture of the iPhone experience. They focus on branding. I do the same, right? It's a great quote, right? And I think, you know, it really speaks to the fact that you, as your own real estate top producer, whatever company you're with, have to work on what that brand is.
Sure.
Yeah. And how did you do it? Like, so you created, like, you know, brand presentation, the way you come off. Like, how did you kind of, you know, your background, your family didn't teach you that.
No.
Right? So you didn't learn that. You might have learned it from someone.
A few things, yeah. So when I definitely used, so we are standing on a mountain of value. We just can't see it. Okay, let me explain this further. So there's a lot of experiences that every person that's in the real estate game, like you know, in the real estate industry as salespeople, there's a lot of stuff that we bring to the table. But because we're standing on top of that mountain of value, we don't look down to say, oh, I can offer all of this. Instead, we're looking at somebody else's mountain, and we find that, oh, but that guy has this and that guy has this. So the very important thing in branding is to understand, first of all, what you bring to the table. Okay, so for me, I brought to the table. In fact, I said this at the beginning. I said, I speak house better than anyone else because of my schooling. So I was like, okay, you want to work with me because I speak house. I actually verbatim, I would say I speak house better than anyone else. I'm also creative and detail oriented. So when I would build my presentations for sellers and buyers, it would be creatively displayed on a PowerPoint presentation. I would take the time to do it myself. It would be, you know, when they come and I'm doing the presentation, it would say, welcome, John and Lucy. I can't wait to work with you. And they would come in and sit down, and that's what they would see on the screen. These are things that I was doing 9 years ago. And people are still not doing it right now. And I'm like, guys, that is the brand. That's the value that you bring, right? For me, it was very important to have a business card, the folder, a bottle of water, like, you know, can I offer you some coffee, and just build that experience, right? And I thought that was very important. And to my success, it was very important. It's kind of like building the experience through the brand to tell people, hey, it's different with me. You know, it's not typical with me. Yeah. So that's kind of how I did it in my time, and how I do it right now, actually. Even with my coaching and stuff like that, like I do want to create that. I still do it, actually. I had a one-on-one meeting with one of my one-on-one clients, and as he came into the room, it said, welcome, Eric, get ready to blast off this year, as we were planning for, and he walked in and he's like, wow, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, that's you. And it's like, I'm giving it's my standard. It's if I start another business, I'm going to do the same thing because it's in me to give the best of me. Right. So I think that's part of my brand.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No. And it's funny in your takeaways, because each of the chapters, and I didn't go through the takeaways because quite frankly, I want people to read the book. So, because I think the takeaways
Don't give them all.
The takeaways are the most valuable part, because those are the things that if I was wanting to be, well, anyway, I'm actually reminding me of a few things in our own business that I'm going to use, and in this business that I want to go back and use. So,
that's amazing.
You can take those learnings and take them to other businesses. But if I wanted to be a top producer, I definitely would go through and I actually pin those takeaways. So I made sure I was following them. So build your brand when the world sleeps, not in lead gen time. So I love this one because when I saw it, this is one that I try to explain to my own team in my other businesses. And I say to them, it's great to be on a computer. It's great to do all those things, right? But, today's daylight, right? And in daylight, just like when you're a builder, when the weather's good, you better be working 18 hours a day, right? 'Cause when you live in Canada, cold fingers don't work well, right? And so quite frankly, you better be building, and you better be building fast, in good weather. So here, don't use up your lead generation time to brand at night, brand on the off weekends, brand when you can, your social media, your media packages, you're creating those kind of, and again, which leads back to your initial kind of value setting of sacrifice.
Oh my God, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, I'm going to wait till he finishes speaking and then I'm going to tell him. And then you're like, bam. And I'm like, you took my key point. No. But you're absolutely right. Yes. That's the connection. 100%.
Yeah. You have to. And so many times people, they sit around and during the day, they're trying to create, what are you doing? Well, I'm branding something, or I'm on social, I'm doing my, let's be serious. Whether you're doing something on Canva or whether you're doing a post or putting it on Plannable or whatever, those are things you can do at night. You 100%. Can do at the end of your day. Those are things like but quite frankly, when people are up and breathing and moving and talking and working. You
better be talking to them.
Yeah, exactly. You better be out selling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's when you got to be selling. Yeah. Which, we kind of created it. And I spent a little time on it. It's funny because I reintroduced it into my teams, the word selling. So selling became a dirty word for a little while. So there became a time when people were like, don't sell me. It has to be organic, right? And I reintroduced them again. I said, no. I said, we are selling. I said, we don't have to tell people we're selling them, but when we talk internally, this is now sales function. So, because what was happening, people were spending a lot of time in our own building thinking that they were working. And I kept saying to him, but our potential customers are out there, right? They're not here, so we can,
That's a very good point.
We can figure all this out. But at some point, if we never leave this building, we're only going to hit the people we have.
Yeah. And the business will naturally die at some point, right?
Yeah.
Like it just, so that's the fulfillment piece, but there's also always a selling and education piece that comes prior to the fulfillment and operations part. Without selling and without education to the client and acquiring more clients, your business is going to have die a slow death. It's just, the revenues are going to,
Which then, quite frankly, so in chapter 5, when you talk about presence and professionalism, the reason is because and this is what we had to work on, quite frankly, which was very interesting because, and I'm not knocking, I love different generations younger than me, so I won't be hard on them. But your professionalism and presence, you have to work on. That's not it doesn't just happen overnight, right? Your look, your feel, how you approach, what your, how you, like your presentations you're talking about. So, and you talk about it in chapter 5, right? And your professionalism, it's interesting. You talked about it here. You're conscious of your punctuality.
Absolutely. Well, your perception of me is dependent on how I show up, right? And perception is reality, right? You could really like me, but if all of a sudden you perceive me to be always like late and I show up like a slob every time, then how likely are you to want to do anything with me? If all things are equal and someone shows up on time and well dressed and well prepared, and another person, same thing, you know them both the same, they're both family members, whatever, but they show up late, looking like a slob. You ask them a question, they're spaced out, they don't know what's going on, they look like they just woke up, they have sleep in their eye, and like, who are you going to want to be spending more time with? Like, let's get serious, right? And people want to say, oh, well, no, you're reading a book by its cover. Give me a break, man. This is business. Okay? This is business. So on a personal note, you know what? Yeah, I can wear no shirt in shorts and at the beach is a different story. When we're talking about business, we need to get serious, and people are perceiving us how we show up, right? So that's why I say presence is very important. It's how you show up, people are going to perceive you, and just depends. You want a successful business, or do you want a business that people are like, I'll go with this person because they just look better and I feel more confident in them. That's
Well, I'm going to tell you an interesting story. So one of the agents we had along the pathway, and it didn't work out. So we didn't.
She's not listening. Don't worry. Keep going.
No, that's all right. We're not mentioning any names, so we're not going to mention names. So the thing came to an end, and we said, okay, we're not being successful at this point, so let's discontinue. We said, your signs are here, right? So I
get them.
I took the signs, and signs are not inexpensive.
No.
Right?
No.
So. And I went and took them out of the ground, took them to my other business, right? Said, come by, grab some lunch, and, we'll do a wrap up, and then you pick up your signs. Yeah. Signs are still there today.
After a few months, it's still there.
She never showed up when she said she would show up.
It's not about the signs, though. It's not about the signs.
No, I don't care. It's up to her sign. She doesn't want to pay. She doesn't want to. She has so much money. She's not worried about the signs. It's just the fact that I would do a follow-up. So if it doesn't work out, so in business, we were talking about it before on there was a gentleman who was in here before, and he told a story about a real bad experience during COVID where his businesses crashed. He had to start over again. It was one of those stories you hear once in a while. And it was a good story because he's resurrected and he's doing well. So it's a nice story. But, you hear about those things and you think to yourself, it's not about whether you picked up the signs or not. It's about the fact that if you didn't do well, you should come and follow up and say, what could I have done better? Well said. How did you perceive what I did?
Absolutely.
Therefore, I have a learning experience and I can say, okay, how do I get better, right?
Let me tell you something that I did. I didn't win every listing. Not every buyer wanted to work with me. Sometimes you connect and sometimes you don't. Yeah. But when I did lose a listing, let's say that they went with somebody else, absolutely. It was beep, 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 beep. Hey, John, I like to do market research all the time. I'm happy that you made a decision that was comfortable with you. And just so that I can improve myself, what can I have done better to earn your business? And that was a standard. In fact, I love doing it. I love reaching out to people for feedback because feedback is the breakfast of champions. Yeah. And I'm a very competitive guy. So I always, reach out and say, tell me how I can be better. I need to know how. And back to the sign situation, it's not about the sign. It's about the values of that individual. As an individual, her morals are off, right? Like, she provided a service. You weren't necessarily happy because she has to go pick up the signs. You know what? Like, show up with pride, man. Go pick up your signs and say, I'm here. Yeah. Like, I'm here. It didn't work out, but how about, what else is going on in your life? Is there anyone do you think I can help? What could I have done better to serve? Like, there's so much opportunity that she missed out. Yep. So much opportunity. Yeah. Give her my number. I love to coach her.
Okay. No, I agree. Yeah. So, chapter 6, marketing and messaging, which a great chapter. And the goal of marketing is to create a customer who is so loyal they will never consider buying from anyone else. Walt Disney. So great phrase. And then you get into something which is interesting. I highlighted it because, quite frankly, as an entrepreneur, this is the hardest one. I think it is one of the hardest things to have courage and keep faith to do. Marketing, number one. And you pointed out the 7-11-4 rule, which is something I've heard in my life many times, right? 7 hours of content consumed, 4 platforms, and 11 touches. Yeah. So the way it goes. But, it's interesting because you can get in the middle of this and you can give up because you're losing faith, because you're not getting the results you want. So you stop and you say to yourself, I got to shoot 7 hours of content, and that is grueling. And I got to put, scripting together. I got to get a video shoot. I got to write an article. I got to do, I have platforms I'm putting it on, which social today is hard as heck.
Oh my God.
It's it's even harder. And a lot of them are bots. So you're doing that. And quite frankly, so your platform's hard to figure out, costly at times. And then how do I know I got the 11 touches? Right?
So here's the thing. It's 7 hours of content consumed by your potential client, which means that you got to shoot probably 47 hours of content and they have to consume that amount, right? The 7. So the idea behind this is that in order for them to actually want to do business with you, they have to consume 7 hours of content. So what you need to do nowadays is you have to lean into YouTube and create long form content. That's big right now. From long form content, you can then chop it up and create short form content. You need to do webinars so that they see your authority, and then they're like, "Wow, it's amazing! Like this lady, this guy, like they know what they're talking about. This is good." So you're building trust, and 4 different platforms because they need to feel like, wow, this person is omnipresent. It's like no matter where I look, they're coming up. So I mean, many people trust them. Their voice is being heard. You know what? I'm going to trust them too. I'm going to do some business with them too. And that's the idea around that, is that we need to, be cognizant of the fact that people need to see you a lot more often than we think before they say yes to you. That's ultimately, and that's why people like the Sam McDaddies of the world, the Frank Leos of the world, right? They are everywhere. So you are actually consuming them as you're driving. You're consuming them on the radio. You're consuming them everywhere. By the time that you're ready, people usually move within 7 to 10 years. So within that period of time, 7 to 10 years, you've consumed more of the agents that are out there marketing themselves. And therefore, who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters. You're gonna call Sam McDaddy. You're gonna call Frank Leo, because they have every sign, billboard. They're on the radio. Sam McDaddy's wearing his shirts at the Raptors game. You see him. He's front and center. He's like, here I am. He's forcing you to consume him. And at that point, now you're like, man, I got to obviously I'm going to go with the guy that's everywhere, right? So it's consumption of content, and in this case, marketing and branding and getting yourself out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Chapter 7, systems and processes. People fail, but systems win. And Shara, when I read this chapter, I thought about Shara and her previous business. Creating the processes to make this successful business is really important. Even to operate a business is important, right? Because you got to get those. And our other business is all process driven, right? It's very from A to B to C. And, I think in our marketing lives, we had to kind of create those processes in order to even do that, because, it's so busy not to miss those steps. Yeah. So, and I think, Shar has a systems background, which helped us quite a bit, right? To, from social to everything else.
Yeah, you have to balance everything, right? You have to go after that platform you created. It's not just creating the platform. You have to go at it and look at it if it's getting any likes and people are viewing it or not. Like the website. You have to go and see if anybody is looking at your website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And this is AI generation. It's so easy to figure out if somebody is looking at it or not.
And where it's coming from. Yeah. And And then put more effort into that. And split testing, all that stuff. Like, there's processes, there's systems around it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you put 100% into something and it's not working, you have to sift. And you have to go to, if website is not working, we have to go to the paper base. Yeah. Like that's how we created a newspaper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To
Meadowvale Pulse.
Pulse.
Pulse. Okay.
Yeah, we have in Mississauga and Scarborough.
Yeah, we had to get that process to drive. We took the learnings of all our businesses and we tried to make them as process driven as we can. And
smart.
What we're trying to do now with podcasting is do the same. So we're trying to it's a little more difficult. So we're figuring it out. But quite frankly, to create that process so it drives on its own, shows schedule, shows get written, people go up. Like it has to have that process. And in real estate, that system and process is even more important, right? Because the competitiveness of it, and quite frankly, the number of targets you're going to be trying to hit.
And the number of people you're a target for. Yeah. So there's all types of technology companies that are going to be like, oh, try this, try that. This is going to make you more productive. This is going to, so, more than ever, it is important to have a process of how you get your results and stick to it. Yeah. I see a lot of agents taking a lot of calls for, I want to know, like they're in consumption mode where they want to consume information, but it's like, okay, like instead of making the phone calls that you're supposed to make, you're taking a call with blue ribbon tech. Because they claim that they can do all the AI conversations for you, man. Dude, just call people and talk to them and do the conversations and send a stinking WhatsApp message and send a video and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Happy birthday. Like that, like it's not that difficult. You know what I'm saying? You don't need technology. The way that it's been portrayed out there, it's kind of like, oh, you could just let AI run your business and just go drink mojitos on, in Mexico and Cancun. No, that's not it, man. There's still work to be done, So, you build your processes and then stick to it and protect it. Yeah.
Yeah. Chapter 8, tracking activities and numbers. So motivation is like bathing. You have to do it every day or else you stink. This is Zig Ziglar. I don't know if have you had an opportunity to listen to his stuff?
His voice is like, when you listen to his voice, it's like there's only one. Absolutely.
And for those of you who haven't,
Zig is the best.
Zig is legendary. I don't know. I think he's
more in your time. Like,
he's older than me. He's older than me. But I think, and if he's still kicking, great. But his stuff was amazing, and his motivational speaking and his humor, the way he presented it, it was really well put together. But it was very direct in the end, right?
Yeah,
a guy, Southern draw from the U.S., born in a very poor city and basically with a family that was lower income. So he tells the story of how he struggled through the depression and all that good stuff, but very, very tough times. But, tracking. So, supercharging your hot list is kind of when I read this chapter, I got out of it. I said, you know what, with everyone, is figuring out the way to successfully parse through all the data that you have and what I call the low-lying fruit.
There it is.
Figuring out the low-lying fruit so you can actually pick it.
Yep.
And that's no matter which business you're in, real estate, any business, even this, quite frankly, even podcasting. It's, parsing through the number of shows that you could possibly do to find ones that are of interest, people want to watch and quite frankly, talk about. And that's how. So real estate, that's got to be your challenge, right? Because your field, like how many homes list, now there's a zillion homes listed. They're not selling as fast, right? Yeah. But you must kind of, to be successful, you have to pick the winners because you can pick homes that are overvalued and won't sell in the marketplace, right? So and that's great. So when people look at your listing thing and say, wow, Chris has a zillion listings, right? But
selling any, yeah. Okay. There's two pieces to that. One piece is I think as a community, as the real estate salesperson community, I think we're doing a really bad job in having candid, honest, and not the funnest conversation with our clients. So a lot of times we come to the table and we want to please. We don't want to tell them the truth. And that is why there's so many listings that are not selling. Because if they came with facts and they stopped trying to live in the world of Narnia and walk through the closet and be like, whatever I think can come true, because some things just are not going to, you're like, we're really not that special, guys. Seriously. If the market says that property is not worth it, good luck. Okay. Yeah. You're going to actually have a lose-win situation where you are blindsiding another client and they're going to purchase a property at a much higher value. It's not what the market is asking for the property. So that what's happening is we're not having the right conversations and we're not having honest conversations with our clients. So every time that I see a listing that is sitting for a very long period of time is because Honestly, just the same way that I say, when you see a kid that's misbehaved, chances are it's not the kid's fault, it's the parent's fault. So here we go. When you see a house that's sitting for a long period of time, it's not the seller's fault, it's the agent's fault. Because we have to have those really hard conversations and say, guys, hold on a second. Maybe I need to explain it from another angle. Maybe we need to look at it from here. Maybe I need to get someone else to say it. But I'm going to make you understand that is not what we're going to be able to get for your property at this time. If that's not what you want, we have to wait. And if you don't want to wait, we have to sell at this price point. So it's expectation. So that's one side of it.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot the other side. There was two sides that when you mentioned, what did you mention there?
Tracking and super hot list. It's getting your hot list narrowed down so you can make, as a real estate agent, you have to make commission. So you got to hit. So there's no point in having a whole portfolio of overpriced homes.
That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. That's not good for your clients. That's not good for you. Yeah, right. Sorry. Low hanging fruit and all that. Yes. But in tough times, we need to have tough conversations.
Yep.
And we have been trained to come and say, yeah, absolutely. I'll do this. Yeah, sure. I'll put it for whatever. And then we go with a price change with a PC and we say, oh, now we have to drop the price. So it's this thing that we think it's okay to tell the client, sure. Yeah. The house is worth $1 million. I'll list it for 2.5. Yeah. Whatever you want. And then we come back 2 weeks later and we're like, remember I told you it wasn't going to sell, but why did you even list it? Like, it's a waste of time for the client. It's a waste of time for you. The problem here is communication. So yes, we can get to the low hanging fruit because we're not having clear enough communication. I think we're not explaining things. We're not educating things enough as a community. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because, I was reading through the next chapter 9, and this is productivity and growth. So, and the one that really got me here is time or money. And I'm just gonna read this because I love this paragraph. Was terrific. And when you were writing it, I understood totally what you're going through. Improving productivity means doing more in less time. It also means doing the same thing better so that you attract more business instead of having to hunt for it. But another way of thinking, to think of productivity, is to do what you're doing, but gradually do less and less of it so that your business can support the life you want to live. So, and that is so true. And in the country, it's interesting. So I think in Canada, not in the US, because the US's productivity is so much higher than ours all around, right? And we're the finance minister Freeland, in the last government, she warned us about this. She said, listen, our productivity is just dropping off the shelf, dropping off the cliff. And people are like, well, I don't want to work harder, but it's not working harder. It's working to get to a place where your growth and your productivity is at such a great level that you can do less now. And I think people didn't equate that. I think people sometimes when, we say, well, we need to grow and we need more productivity, that's hard work. But that hard work leads you to a place where, where if you're, some of the gentlemen you mentioned as real estate agents, if you've done that work, put that out there, done that time, then you can kind of, not coast, but you can kind of say, okay, now I can sit back a little and reap the gains of the work I've done to increase my productivity and let the process drive my sales, right? And in real estate, my observation is so many people talk about the teams they build and the things they do, but they don't mention the productivity of their teams. So, and that's kind of because we've had agents and they say, well, I have a team. And we're like, great, you have a team, right? The only person we ever see is that agent again, right? We never see the team.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, that's kind of odd because if I had a team, like I have teams, right, that work in my businesses, quite frankly, people see me, but they see the teams more than they see me because the processes and the productivity levels and the growth scenarios are all spelled out enough that they know when I leave the room where they go next, right? So
when agents talk about, well, let's just peel the curtain back a little bit. So a team is anything more than one. So in theory, I mean, they can have their husband and wife working for them, and all of a sudden they're a team, right?
Yeah.
A team is also 99 people. or 150. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, people are using the word teams and you don't really know, like, okay, that's nice. But like, how do you make my life easier? Nobody really cares whether you have a team or not. You could be one person, but if you're very efficient and productive, this is going to be fantastic. But you can have a team of 99 people and, you can have a mess in terms of your processes where that 99 people makes you incredibly unproductive, late. You're never able to accomplish anything because you're babysitting team members because you don't have onboarding processes and you don't have offboarding processes of the people that, it's another thing. You have to hire super slow and fire fast because people are they're gonna be drags in your business if you don't train them properly. So at teams, that's kind of like, super unclear. When people say I have a team, you got to say, okay, great. Where did your team improve your process? I think that's the next question that should be asked. Fantastic, you have a team. How does your team make you more productive, more efficient, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people also talk about a lot of agents talk about how much money they've made. Mm-hmm. The question is, how much money have they kept? So that's another, these are certain curtains that we have to open up and talk about the reality of it, right? Like maybe you're wasting, you're making a lot of money, but maybe you're wasting money and you're not really looking at your business. Financial stress can lead to bad decisions for the client, right? So you want to make sure that whoever the people are working with or you're choosing to work with they have good financial models that allow them to make sound decisions, so that you can get the results, right? So teams, money, I made all the money, I have a team, like those are all things that, top, number one, and then they have the asterisks and it's like, yeah, I'm number one, but from houses sold in 2021 from January to February, so these are all the things that you have to look out for teams and all that, the productivity. I think a lot of times, I'm going to segue into something that's not in the book. It's when you're selecting people, right? I think it's very important that there's a certain level of trust and you have to kind of feel that. And that is not on marketing material. That is not on how many signs you have on the lawn. A lot of things that we skip is the chemistry between the client and the real estate professional. I think we have to, that's a piece that I perhaps don't talk about there, but I think it may or may not, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others because they don't have a good presence to them. But I guess I talk about it in presence. Yeah, but yeah.
The last part, and you started with this, so I'm going to kind of end with it. Be courageous, create quality, and live inspired. And you use that, when you wrote, the jacket of this book, you actually, you put it in there, right?
Yeah.
So little background.
Yeah. So, again, as I was going through my understanding of what it is to run a business, okay, because I wasn't born with knowledge, you have to acquire that. I was asked, you got, you're 98 years old and, we're keeping you alive by a machine and you decided, I want you to turn that off, man. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. Okay, great. What are you going to tell your children in 30 seconds or less? Yep. And it wasn't 30 seconds that I thought about that, but I was like, and I wrote it down quickly and then I summarized it to that. But, if I may explain it, be courageous. I think everything starts with courage. Starting this podcast starts with courage. It requires money. It requires incredible personnel with vision. It requires editing. It requires cost. It requires all types of stuff, time, so that's a courage piece. So in anything you do in life, I think you have to start with courage, period. Okay. But then after that, once you have the courage to start, when I look around, you guys have put quality into this thing, right? Like this is quality. This is quality. You've taken the time to build this thing. This is you guys are right in alignment with my values. That's the reason why we get along. Let me just say that. In fact, I've told you guys before, like I just love the way that you live your life, the way you show up. So that's the quality piece. And then lastly, the inspiration piece. I think it's important that, every time that I speak to someone, I just want to leave them or somehow leave something behind that inspires them, motivates them to move forward. You guys do that for me every time. Every time I talk to you guys, you're like, I don't want to get into that, but you're like, hey, I think you could be this. I think we could do this. Let's do that. So I mean, if there's anybody here that's living those values, is you guys. And I'll close it with that. I think you guys are courageous. Always leading with quality and very inspirational. So yeah.
No, and you do. And, for those of you, we read it. We love the book. So thank you, Chris. And
Thank you.
Real Top Producer. It's not only for, this is an interesting thing. And I wanted to leave this with the audience before we go. It's not only for real estate. Mm-hmm. I think I pulled a lot out of it from my other businesses. And also, if you're interested in real estate, so if you're on the other side and you're a buyer or a seller, it's an interesting read for them too, just to sort of the qualities that they should be looking for with people they're working with. So I think it hits a lot of audiences, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We enjoyed this today. I know real estate's a hot topic, and every day we're seeing it on the news. So stay tuned. We're having more shows coming up. We're doing starting next month. We're doing weekly shows on the state of real estate in the different residential, commercial, and the different sectors. So subscribe, and we hope to see you soon.